Today's episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
Hello and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Crow. I'm a mother of three, a yoga teacher, and a trainer and consultant who works for yoga teachers. And this podcast was created for you so that you can connect to information and inspiration every single week, so that you feel supported in a way that enables you to keep going as a yoga teacher and as an entrepreneur. One of the things we all need, whether you're a solopreneur just starting off on your yoga teacher journey, or if you're a studio owner managing other yoga teachers, or if you're a yoga teacher who is slowly building a team, one of the things we need to run a successful business is a good network of connections. Maybe you're like me, and when you hear network, you're imagining a boring business event where everyone is handing out their business cards and making small talk. But networking is so much more than that. And that's why I'm so excited for today's episode, where Natalie Eckdahl, one of my business coaches, gets to share the expertise that she has on the topic of making connections or networking, whatever you want to call it. I'm really excited about today's episode because oftentimes we jump right to thinking about how can we get on social media and get in front of people, or how can we build our email list and be sending emails to get in front of new yoga students. And Natalie dials it right back to how can we still network and connect when most of us are working online these days. I participated in a training, and as soon as I heard Natalie talk about this, I thought, please come over to the podcast and talk about this with our listeners. I think this is so important. If you are struggling to get yoga students to your classes, your workshops, your trainings, make sure to listen in and take notes today. And if you're on the go, not to worry, we take the notes for you. Well, Crunch does an amazing job of that. You can find all of the show notes over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/177. I want to give a special thanks and shout out to Cedar Valley from the US, who sent a review in. Cedar Valley says, I love this podcast. I appreciate the down-to-earth vibe and practical information. If I'm doing a presentation or a workshop, I can often find an episode that supports my subject matter. I've been a teacher for 2 decades and can always find something of value on the podcast. Thank you so much, Cedar Valley. I don't know your first name. I only know your username on iTunes, but I am just thrilled that you left this review. And I think that you are going to find a ton of value in today's episode. For those of you who have been listening to the podcast for a while, maybe even all the way back to the beginning, you will have heard about Natalie Eckdahl before. I shared about Natalie in episode 160 and how she's helped me in my business journey. And also we got to hear from her in one of the early episodes of the podcast in episode 5, where we talked about the goals for my business. So I owe a huge, tremendous amount of gratitude to Natalie in supporting me to where I've gotten today with the podcast, with our growing Facebook group, with all kinds of things in my business. I'm so glad that we're going to talk today about networking in today's episode. We really dig into why it's important to connect with others and grow our network, and how we make the whole process less awkward and more authentic. We also talk about how to track whether our networking efforts are paying off, and some of Natalie's tips for building connections that we can tap into for referrals and to grow our yoga business. And just so you know, I listen to Natalie's podcast. I've been listening for a long time and I've gotten to know her, and Natalie is an introvert. So it's not like she thrives on getting out there and meeting people. And so whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you are going to hear some amazing tips to help you to connect to people and to learn about how this impacts your business. Before we dive right in and meet Natalie, let's hear our hot tip of the week from the team over at Schedulicity.
Hello, Connected Yoga teachers. This is Marcelina with the Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. Your yoga videos are capable of reaching an audience larger than any studio is capable of hosting. Once you get into the swing of making yoga videos, consider creating an informative video to show your students how to book online. We've seen videos like this shared thousands of times on social media, and they never fail to bring in new business. If you do end up making a new video like this, send it our way, and we'll be sure to share it on our pages too.
Thank you so much, Team Schedulicity, for making my life so much easier, for keeping my calendar organized. I just actually saw that I needed to set one more thing up to get text reminders. So I love that I can get a reminder and it tells me when someone has booked a training or a consultation call. It comes right to my phone. And if you are a North American yoga teacher and you haven't checked out Schedulicity, now is the time to do that, because Schedulicity is really supporting everyone and they've paused all payments until September the 1st of 2020. Alrighty, let's dive in and meet Natalie. Natalie Eckdahl is the founder of BizChix Incorporated. She's dedicated to helping women entrepreneurs. She's a business strategist and coach. She helps high-performing women across the globe build, grow, and scale their business while avoiding overwhelm. As I said earlier, Natalie has her own podcast, which is amazing. I highly recommend that you check it out. It's called the BizChix Podcast. And this is where she showcases the expertise of hundreds of industry experts. As well, she shares actionable steps and strategies based on her 20 years of business experience and her graduate business degree. Natalie has definitely helped me to grow my business, and she does this for hundreds of thousands of other women entrepreneurs out there, and some men, but she mostly focuses in on helping women to grow their business. Alrighty, so let's dive into this chat that Natalie and I had about how we can use our own network that we have right now and how we can use this to grow our yoga business. And at the end, I actually want to tell you about what's coming up next on the podcast, as well as I want to share my key takeaways here. So I'll catch you at the end of our interview with Natalie. Natalie, welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. It's so great to have you back.
Thank you, Shannon. I am delighted to be back. I'm so honored that I get to be a repeat guest.
I will make sure to link to other episodes with you. If our listeners have never heard me go on and on about you and have not heard those episodes, tell me what is the work that you do and who do you do it for?
Oh, thank you. I am a business coach and strategist, and I help women entrepreneurs grow and scale their businesses. And so I really love to work with women that have a business and need some tweaking or and just some insight into like what would work right now, what changes could they make. And I also love to help people with thought leadership and getting visibility in their life. So those combinations of things are what I love to do. I have a podcast called the BizChix Podcast, which I think is how you found me. And it's BizChix if you look for it in your podcast app. I love to have new people find me and listen. And I love supporting women in business.
Amazing. We'll make sure that it's in the show notes. And actually, it's Crunch that does the show notes for the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. And she's also on your team.
She is. Yes. Crunch is our community manager. We both have the lovely opportunity to work with her. She's incredible. And we also have a sister podcast if anyone is building a team called Stacking Your Team. And that's hosted by Shelly Warren, who's a team and leadership coach on our team. So we are able to support women at all different levels of their business and with different skill sets. So it's super fun.
That's amazing. Shelly is a fellow Canadian as well, which is so fun. Yeah.
She is.
I'm excited that today we get to dive in and talk about networking. And when I hear the word networking, I think that means that I go to a boring meeting and I pass out my business cards. So do you want to define what networking is or is not?
Yes. So that can be networking, right? And that's most of our experiences with networking. What I see networking being is something that helps your network know what you're doing and having visibility in your network. It seems like we spend so much time on social media, making sure all these random people know what we're doing, but sometimes our neighbor doesn't know what we're doing. And sometimes, different complementary service providers aren't aware about who we serve and how we serve them. And so it's often usually people that we're connected to locally or that we know, like, say we're connected online, but we actually really do know them. Often those people don't know what we're up to. And so that's what I love talking to women about, is how to really just make sure you have the same visibility in your personal network that you do out in the world.
This is really interesting because I heard you talking at a workshop that you were doing recently, and you said, like, imagine these three circles. We're the person in the middle, we're that middle circle. And then the next circle is our network of family and friends that know us. And then you said, those are the people that we're not expecting them to buy from us, but they
Correct.
tell other people.
Yes. So I love, if anyone has a piece of paper right now, draw three circles in, like, nested within each other. So a small circle to start with is you, and then a little bigger is another circle. And as you said, you could put your network in there. And then outside of that is a bigger circle, and that's their network. And those are the people that we're really wanting to connect to and reach. And so if our network doesn't know what we do and who we do it for, then the people beyond that, the people that they're connected to, cannot work with us or find out about us. Because I love to refer people. I'm what I call an Uber connector, which is I literally get joy in connecting people, and I have a memory. My mind is created for remembering relationships and remembering what people do. And so I will often meet someone and say, "Oh, you're struggling with this thing. I know the perfect person. Let me connect you." And so it's you can even narrow down your network. We all probably can think of someone, "Oh, I know that person." Like, anytime you talk to him or her, they are saying, "Oh, you need to talk to so and so," or you just know that they have this ability to connect. We need to prioritize those people knowing what we do and who we do it for. So they might provide, say, I don't know, 80% of our connections, and they're 20% of the people we know. So that's kind of the 80-20 rule, which works in a lot of things in business and life. But I think that it's also important to work in ways that you can expand that close-in network. So the more people you get to know. So we had a workshop, and what I told all of you at that workshop is we've now all expanded our first level network today, because we now all know each other, and we all know what each other does. And so we can refer to each other. So also seeking to do things where you are connecting and getting to know more people so that you can expand that outer circle.
Okay, so can you give us some examples? Especially now as yoga teachers, here in Canada, we're still under stay-at-home orders. So it feels like I want to get out and connect with people. I even had a dream the other night that I was going around hugging people. but I can't get out there. So how might we do this online?
Yes, it's a lot harder now, right? Because things are different. And I want to say, people a lot of times when they hear me speak and hear me talk, they think, "Oh, well, I'm not an extrovert. Like, I actually get nervous in social settings. I am an introvert, and I actually get social anxiety at what you would consider a networking event. So I actually like to be in charge of events, because then I have control and I know what's going to happen. So I am more likely to lead an event than to actually attend an event. So if you're like me, you can create an event and know exactly what's going to happen. So I would call myself more of an outgoing introvert. So I just wanted to share that, because sometimes people think I am an extrovert, and I am not. And I define that by I recharge by being alone. So I get more energy by being alone than I do with people. Extroverts tend to get energy by being around other people, and sometimes people are right in the middle. So in these times where we are not able to operate in the way that we used to, we can seek to create community virtually or online. And what I'm finding right now, especially as kind of, you know, and we're also seeing right now, I don't know exactly when we're going to air this, but we're seeing that this time may ebb and flow. Like, we may have times where we're back in this situation where we're in, really in extreme stay-at-home orders, and these may expand and then they may contract. We don't know exactly how the future is going to be. So I think it's important for us all to get comfortable in connecting online. So we're recording this on Zoom right now and we can see each other, and you and I could even have like a meeting. It's one thing that I've been doing recently is just connecting with people that I want to know better and say I've sent out emails and I've said, hey, how are you doing? I would love to spend a little time with you, just chatting on Zoom. Do you have some time available? And I'm connecting with people on a deeper level and we're having a short conversation. To me, it's equivalent of want to go to coffee. And so I had one friend that we don't see each other very often, and we both went for a walk at the same time on FaceTime. So we live in different states, and instead of being inside all day, it was a way for us both to get a walk in, and we were kind of walking and looking at each other, and it wasn't perfectly clear all the time. And my battery at the end died, and I had to text her later and say, sorry, my battery died. But that was just such a fun way to catch up and find out what she's up to right now and how I could support her. So I think being creative right now, and also remembering that if you are the person that creates community, people want to return that favor in some way. Like we have this in our brain, this desire for reciprocity. Like our brain doesn't want to owe anybody anything. So people will be naturally seeking to see how they can help you. I want to share something my daughter did, which I thought was really great. And any of us could do this as well. She's a high school senior and she was so disappointed when her school closed down, and then knowing that it wasn't, and now we know like it's not, she's going to end her year without class resuming. She immediately started virtual lunch. And so she has virtual lunch every day with her lunch group. So at school, she had a group that she always ate lunch with, and they just sit and eat lunch and talk to each other as if they are at a lunch table. So any of us could create a virtual lunch, a virtual happy hour, a small group meeting. I think just look around and see what other people are doing, and don't be afraid to initiate it, because there's a lot of people that aren't capable of organizing something, even like reaching out for a call. Right. And sometimes when you're that person wanting to be reached out to, you realize, oh, they just aren't able to do that. That's not their skill set, or they have things that prevent them in their mindset or whatever is going on with them to organize something. So I encourage people to organize either like one-on-one meetings, small group meetings, something that would be helpful and mutually beneficial.
And do you have some tips then in terms of how we can make it feel not weird? Like, if we're networking and the goal is to grow our network and therefore increase our business and maybe get more sales, I know that I've been part of like someone reaches out to me on Facebook and they're like, hi, how are you? And then all of a sudden they're selling to me in that first message.
So I would initially just focus on the people that it feels really easy to do this with. So someone you already know or have met with before that you might have coffee with anyway, and you haven't been connected in a while. Another great way to initiate a conversation is if you need advice on something. So during this time, a lot of us have needed to pivot our businesses. And is there someone that could give you great advice? And I mean, who doesn't want to give their advice? Now, if someone randomly sends me an email or message on Facebook or on some other social media channel, is like, Natalie, do you have time for 15 minutes? I need some of your advice. Well, no, I am a coach and people pay me for my time. So that isn't going to work. But if it's someone I know and, like maybe they're a former speaker at one of my events or a former client, and they're like, hey, could we pop on and have, get connected again? Or I have a couple questions for you. Most likely I'm going to say yes. So I think we have to, just reach out and make it natural. We have to start with what feels really natural to you, and also seek to be of service. So if it feels really uncomfortable to you, and I would say this for across the board to everyone, connect with someone just for the idea of being service to them, to see, is there anything you could do to help them? And what will happen in a conversation when you're asking how you can help someone right now, they are most likely going to say, what do you need? Like, what's going on with you? How can I help you? So if our intention is to serve, I feel that at the end of the day, in the future, at some point, it circles back and comes back to support us. So that's what I've been doing with these calls. I don't want anything from the calls that I'm having other than to just connect with people and to just hear what they're up to. Both of the women one of the women I reached out to, she's been a longtime listener of my podcast. I've actually worked with her one time in a strategy session, but I really like her. Like if we lived in the same town, I would want to be friends with her. So like I would want to hang out with her. And I just really wanted to chat with her. She has a daughter that's a few years ahead of me. And so she will email me every once in a while with advice on, just like what she's going through and what I may go through in the future. And I thought, it would be really fun to have a call with her. And at the end, she told me that she's super introverted. She's like, so, my best friend will even tell me like, you need to stop texting me. You need to call me. And so at the end I said, okay, well, I said, I want to have a call with you again in the future, but I'm not going to initiate it. So just so you know, I will say yes whenever you want to have a call again, but I want you to initiate it. So I think it's good to have some back and forth too, even if it's uncomfortable for you.
Oh, this is so good. I think there are so many of our yoga teachers as well that maybe they have left the studio or left the regular classes that they were teaching, and they could reach out to some of those students who they were seeing all of the time and connect and just say, how are you doing?
Definitely. And see, how are they doing? How's their body doing? How could you support them? So I've been trying to work on getting stronger in my body and my core. And I've been doing a lot of Pilates, and I was doing private Pilates instruction at my gym. And after initially, when we all kind of went on quarantine, I think everybody was scrambling, like parents, people, everybody was in a state of shock. And now I think is a great time to reach out to people again. So I've been talking to a lot of business owners and especially people in helping professions, and that have the opportunity to do like small group classes or one-on-one classes. People may be now ready to circle back and focus on their bodies again more than they were initially. So I think it's a great time to reach out to people and just check in and see how they're doing and see if there's any way you could serve them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is so good. And a lot of our yoga teachers as well have been saying, like, I'm tired of getting on social media, trying to do Instagram stories every day, and I'm not seeing any return. So is there a way to kind of measure or track or set a schedule up for networking? Or is it just, is it something that's more organic?
It's probably different for different people. So I have someone on my team. Her name's Elizabeth Cook, and she's an accountability coach in one of our group programs. And she is very, she does, if it's on her calendar, she's going to do it exactly as it is. And she's super organized and process driven. So she'll create a process and she will do that exact process. And I know for me, I will make a process, but then I'll change my mind and I'll do different things. So some of it's personality and understanding your personality. If you are the type of person that is more like Elizabeth and is great at following like a process, then I might say, hey, why don't you try to reach out to 5 people a week or even 3 people a week and try to get some time with each other. And eventually so say you and I had a call like this, Shannon, like I reached out to you and said, hey, Shannon, could we connect and just catch up? I want to see how you're doing and check in with you. Then you might say, you know what, Natalie, I think you should talk to a colleague of mine or a friend of mine. Can I connect you guys? Because you guys are going through the exact same thing, or they have this person could be an amazing client of yours, or they're going, you might naturally want to connect me. Well, now I'm expanding my network and I'm connecting, and it becomes fun instead of this chore. Right. So I think that if you need a system, then you probably need to create a system that will work for you and make it easy. Go for those sure wins. So if we were like in the dating world right now and we were thinking of asking someone out, I would say, ask if it's been hard in the past or you've been really nervous and you've been turned down, go for the sure thing. Who's going to say yes? It might be your mom. It might be your best friend. Start there with the sure thing. But I also think it's really important to connect with complementary service providers. So who are those people that could refer you business or send you clients? Think about those people. circle back with old clients. It's never too late to pull someone back in. And in terms of social media, we want to get people off social media and into conversation on Instagram, where I know a lot of yoga teachers are spending their time. A great way to do that is in direct messaging. So a way to kind of network, and I'm using air quotes here, on Instagram is, so say someone follows you. They're interested in you right now. Why did they choose to follow you? Message them and say, hi, thanks for following me. I'm curious what attracted you to follow my account. And they might say, well, I'm interested in I'm trying to find a yoga class, and there's nothing online, or I have a specific issue I'm trying to work through. I see that you're a specialist in that. And then we're in conversation. And then something you and I do both with each other on Instagram is we take advantage of voice and video. So in the direct messaging, there's a way to use voice and video, and that's very compelling and connects you deeper and quicker with someone. And also for me, it's faster to do too. So I recommend that, we follow up with people that are initially interested in us. So it's kind of, if we're going back to the dating analogy, maybe they're flirting with you a little bit, like, oh, like I kind of like you. I like something about you. And if nothing else, you're getting information about why people are attracted to your account, why they chose to follow you. And so anything we can do to get things from, to the next level, like we want to keep taking relationships to the next level if we can.
That's fantastic. This is really effective for me. I know I've made some great friends in the direct messages of Instagram, and I just bought a workshop over a weekend with you because you had posted a story. I asked you a question about it, and we got into conversation. And that seems like a more, I don't know, it's a different way of purchasing something. It's not like, here's my sales page, figure it out on your own.
I think that, so if I was a yoga teacher, I would be thinking about, who do I want to work with right now? It's a great time also to think about where you specialize. Like, there are free yoga classes I could find all over. But if someone was addressing a specific issue I have, or it's more of a small group, or it is one-on-one. Like, I personally prefer one-on-one instruction right now for my body and my health, because I have specific things I'm working on and I need accountability. So I'm sharing this because I think it surprises a lot of people. They're like, well, why would you pay for it when you can get it for free? I could do a Pilates mat class for free anywhere. I am working with someone that, first of all, I used to pay her to work with machines, the Pilates machines, the reformer and the Cadillac and the chair. And we can't do that now. And so I am paying the same price for a one-on-one mat class with her. And why I'm doing that is because I need accountability, or I will not do the work. I will not show up. And I also appreciate, at this time in my life, very specific instruction for my body. And she's able to make a lot of tweaks based on my body on that day. And I'm willing to pay for that. So I share that because I believe that everybody has clients in their realm that would pay for a high-end service in their business, and even virtually. So I would consider, if you have people, here's another thing around kind of networking. A tip I have is, we've gotten so into emailing and doing everything virtually, like through messaging and on social media and email. We forget about this thing called the phone. So look at your phone. You have people you can text and call. And so that's a way faster way to get a response. So if you have people's phone numbers and you can text them or you can call them, do that. Check in with them. Ask them if you can serve them. I love getting text messages from service providers. Even if I have not worked with them in a long time, I appreciate that they're checking in on me and seeing if they could be of service to me. So, and if someone is going to not like that, then they'll tell you, and they were never going to be your customer anyway.
Exactly.
So circle back with people, even if you talked to them a few weeks ago, check in with them again, because week to week, our lives are changing. And at first we were just doing like food and water, toilet paper. How do I teach my children at home? How do I get my business to run? Am I going to have enough money to live on? Like that, those basic needs people were stabilizing. Now we're stabilized, and now we can go out and serve and be paid by people. If I could just share one thing, and I know it's not just about networking, Shannon, but I know what happens in the mindset of people that are so helping, like yoga teachers, and just so into healing and just have so much love for the people that they're serving. It's okay to get paid right now. And there are people that have money to spend. Not everybody has been annihilated by this pandemic. And there are plenty of people who have money to spend and they want to pay you their money. And it's not your job to be free for everybody. So it's nice if you want to do some free content, but you're not required to. There's not a rule about that. And please let people pay you. Like it actually gives me a lot of accountability to pay for services versus finding free things. So let the free people go find their free stuff, but let the people that want to pay you and learn what they need right now and provide that.
This is so good. I know that I've been showing up as the student. One of the teachers that I work with, she said, "Hey, I see that you didn't register this week. I'm not trying to push you." And I was like, "Oh gosh, I forgot to register. Like I've been going every week and I just forgot to sign up for the class." And she was checking in and I thought it was super sweet. Now, one thing I want to clarify here, I love how you're telling our yoga teachers, make sure you're charging. Obviously, they're not charging for networking time.
No.
Is there a way that we can do it where we don't just end up giving our time more? Like someone's like, "Oh yeah, you called me. Actually, can you lead me through like 15 minutes of yoga?"
No, we're not doing that. You could say, "Oh, thanks for asking. I actually have, I can't do that right now, but here's some ways that we could work together. I have a group class this day. Here's how you can register. If you'd love one-on-one, I have these packages, or you could just book one if you want to try it out." But yeah, I get you. Like my body has just, this amount of sitting we're doing is so not normal for us. And yeah, definitely. I'll send you a link afterwards so that if you want to check out any of that, you can check that out. So
Right.
yeah, and that's a boundary. So that's holding boundaries with people. And if it's mutual, like you and I are both business owners, Shannon, we might have a mutual conversation where we're helping each other with our businesses, and if we're peers, that's different versus, me. I'm just thinking right now, I'm like, I could have asked Shannon to do some yoga with me. I just would never do that. I think that's so rude.
Yes.
I think that's so rude. Although I will say I did get you to do a little yoga with our workshop, and I hope I didn't pass the boundary there. I was like, "Could you do some stretching and movement for us, Shannon, for 5 minutes?" And she did.
I was so excited to do that. No, that's different. Yeah.
So, but yes, if it doesn't feel good to you, say no and just hold the boundary. And if I know a lot of women say to me, "Oh, I feel bad. Like, what if they're mad at me?" And the truth is, maybe some people will be mad at you. And if you walk around your whole life being worried about all these people being mad at you, like you're really not going to be able to function in life. And so I like to really think about who I care being mad at me. And it's a very small list. And the rest of people, I really don't care if they're mad at me. So, and I've evolved to that, and I love being, I'm 47. I love being in my 40s. I feel like in your 40s, you get really sure of yourself and you start to care a lot less. And I hear that as we get older, it gets even more like that. I'll tell you, my 93-year-old grandmother, she doesn't care about anything. She just tells you what it is. And she was never like that. So we can get more confidence and in holding boundaries. And I find when I hold boundaries with people, majority of people really appreciate it. And they'll be like, "Oh, like, thank you, Natalie, for holding that boundary with me. Now I know I can do that in the future with someone else." So usually people that are trying to push boundaries have boundary issues themselves. So nope, we're not going to do free teaching for someone we're connecting with. I mean, if it's a complementary service provider, I could see like, "Hey, would you want to trade? Like, could we just do like, could you do, I know you do a lot of pelvic floor work and you teach people about that, Shannon, like someone might say, I'm really struggling with something. Could you maybe give me a couple exercises?" And you're like, "Yeah, and I'm struggling with this. Could you maybe lead me through that?" If it feels good, do it. But if it doesn't, don't do that.
Right.
Just say no.
That's really good that we watch our boundaries.
Like toddlers, redirect to the actual paying content.
Right. Because I just had this vision of our yoga teachers like offering again in their networking. And really, it's helpful if they keep in mind, they're building that network, they're building that second ring of people. Is there anything else that you can think would help us to sort of build the other things that we're looking for? So we generally want more people to show up to our classes. We want more people on our email list so we can tell them about our classes, more people watching us on our social channels. So are there any other tips for our immediate network or?
Yes. So I also think maybe we could reframe the word networking to connecting, especially since we're on the Connected Yoga Podcast.
Right.
I think that the word networking, it's like the word sales. It can cause like physical responses in people. Like even right now when I'm just thinking about saying the word sales, saying networking, I don't really love those words. I like making sales. Don't get me wrong. But I know I can feel what other people feel about those words. And I'm feeling them right now in like the pit of my stomach, and some anxiety is coming up. And so I like the word connecting. So we're focusing on connecting more with others and sharing about what we do and who we do it for, what we specialize in, and making sure people have awareness about those things. So we want to build awareness in our current network so that they can tell their network. We want to build and create a bigger network, right? So there's a couple different things we're doing. In terms of how you kind of use that to convert, when we think about visibility, there's some things that create rapid visibility and rapid connection, and video is one of those things. And I know you teach that. You're so great on video, Shannon, and you're so great in stories. And I think if I was a yoga teacher, I would be really wanting to share what I know. So even though you might think that other people can teach what you're teaching, the people that are following you are attracted to you because of who you are and your voice and the way you share things. So I would think about what my goal is and then do things that kind of backtrack, reverse engineer is the word I use, reverse engineer to that goal. So if I'm wanting more clients and a certain type of client, I would think about what they're struggling with and why they might want to learn from me. And I would remind myself that I have a lot of knowledge to share and things that could help people. And I would be teaching on social media, not necessarily teaching a whole class, but I might teach about the body. I might teach about nutrition. I might teach about movement. I might teach about share some of my spirituality that relates to what I'm doing. I would share some things about my life. Instagram, I love to use Instagram stories to share about my full life because my audience is interested in that. I'm a mom of 3. I have children that are 5, 8, and 18. I have an adult now. We have kittens, though there's people like seeing my kittens. So I'm a full person. I'm not just this business owner and podcaster. I have a full life and I like to share that, but I also teach and I own that I know things. Do other people know those things? Absolutely. Do other people share them differently? Yes. Do I share some of the same things that other people share? I do. But that doesn't keep me from teaching the people that are attracted to me. And video is one of the best ways to connect. So you got to get comfortable on video. At some point, when I first started on video, it was terrible. You only get better. So you got to get started so you can get better.
That's so good. It's so true. You were one of the people that motivated me. You had a 10-day video challenge that I signed up for, and it was awful at the beginning. Hey, Connected Yoga teachers, I'm jumping in here just to clarify that Natalie's challenge was not awful. It was amazing. I felt like the first live videos that I did and made were awful. I just wanted to make that clear. And Natalie is all about, just jump in, do some B- work, do it messy, dive in, kind of figure it out as you go. Okay, let's get back into the interview. I just wanted to clarify that.
We're all awful unless you're like a born performer. Yeah, everyone's bad. So that's okay. You're going to get better. Like go back and listen to one of our first podcasts. They weren't so great. I keep mine there so people can go there. Other people are like, I like listening from the beginning because I see how much you've grown. So it's funny. But yeah, we all get better at what we're doing, and the comparison is the worst thing we can do. Right, Shannon?
It is. It really is. It helps to keep like eyes on your own page, you say.
Yeah. I like to say, keep your eyes on your own paper. Like we're in school. Don't look at other people. And then if people are making you feel less than on social media, stop following them. Like don't get their emails. Don't follow them. Don't even look at them. Like honestly, if you're creating content, you should be consuming less content, except for this podcast. Listening to Shannon. But no, there's times when I'm really focused on creating that I will be consuming different content or less content or listening to more. I'm not trying to learn because I'm trying to teach. So there's times and seasons for those things. But be encouraged. Like there are people that need you. Like I just want to say, I really appreciate the community that you've built and the yoga teachers. I had the opportunity to do prenatal yoga. I did baby and mom yoga when Aurora was little. And I most recently at my gym was doing restorative yoga. Am I saying it right?
Restorative, yes.
Restorative yoga. That was amazing. I didn't even know that was a thing. So, and I actually, here's something that's interesting. I have been looking for that teacher. I would pay him for one-on-one time, but I cannot figure out how to find him and pay him.
This is what happens. Yes.
So he should have a better social media presence right now because I have found him, but he doesn't make it easy to reach him. So I think that for all of you, I think that for yoga teachers, people are looking for you. And so make it easy to be found. Make it easy to connect with you. And so on your social profile, have your email, have a phone number, make it really easy to know what you're up to.
Oh, this is good. I have a restorative class to end the day today. Now that we have this directory, the connected yoga my brother built it.
I need to tap into that. I know your brother's amazing.
I was like, we need this. Well, I just said, we have a spreadsheet. Yes. So I'm super excited that he's built this directory. And now I can even go to a class with my brother who lives in a different province. He's like a 4-hour flight away. We can go to the same class together, which is really cool.
I mean, that's such an opportunity to see if you can do classes for groups, like family groups. I mean, that's a real opportunity for people as well.
Yes.
That's a fun idea. I hadn't thought about doing something like that, like attending a yoga class with a friend remotely. That's such a good idea.
Yeah. See, that would be a good networking thing. Even you could say like, bring your friends. I'm doing this thing. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Or like attend a class and have bring a friend for free.
Yes.
Like to try out virtual. A virtual class could be a way to expand people that know you. I would say also like really think through those there's such value. I'm just going to drill it in one more time. The complementary service provider. So as a yoga instructor, who refers people to yoga? Shannon.
PTs, massage therapists, some doctors, nurse practitioners. Yeah, there are like chiropractors.
Right. So you could create a Zoom call where you're saying, first, we're going to connect because you have something to provide. You have a service you could provide. I would love to bring them all, invite a bunch of them onto a yoga class session with you. Say, first, we're just going to go around and share what we do because we all have the ability to refer each other business. And then I would love, if you'd like to stay, I will lead us through like a session through a class.
That's a great idea. That's so nice. That's a nice way for people to show up. And it's like that thing that you would do in person, like your, what's that called? Like Chamber of Commerce, like your local. It's like we make a virtual one.
That's where I probably should have started with that, but it takes my brain a little while to get all the new ideas to come forth. But yeah, I think that would be a really fun thing. And even if only like 3 or 4 showed up, or even if 2 showed up, like, wow, the 3 of us are connecting. We now know more about each other. And you wouldn't even have to offer a class if you didn't want to. But if you wanted to really demonstrate what you do, and that would be of value to those other providers, that would be a great thing you could offer too.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for this, Natalie. I am excited to hear what our connected yoga teachers decide to do to connect to other people and build that network. Really exciting. Thank you for your time today.
I'll leave you with the fortune is in the follow-up. So follow up more than you think you need to. And it's because we're all so distracted and people want to hear from you. Thank you so much, Shannon. This was such a good time.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Natalie. That was amazing to chat with you more about this whole concept of how connecting, aka networking, is so beneficial for our business. And one of my key takeaways here is that we don't have to sell to our small group of friends and family, but if they know what it is that we do, then they will tell other people about us. So I actually talk about this next week in our episode with Devin. Super excited about this episode to come out because Devin had this real struggle of being frustrated with social media right now. So if you're listening in real time, this is going out in the summer of 2020, and we are still dealing with the pandemic, and we are still dealing with working online a lot of the time. And Devin had this struggle where she felt like, okay, I'm getting a little tired of social media, and I wonder if my audience also is. So we continued this conversation into that consultation call. I'm super excited that you get to hear it. So make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so that it'll automatically pop up for you next week and you can have a listen. So one other thing that I've done since this episode with Natalie is I took this idea of connecting and networking, and I started to look at the people who were connecting and networking with me and pick out the things that I really liked about how they did that. So one example is I was listening to a podcast last week and I really enjoyed the conversation. So I added the guest on Instagram as someone who I wanted to follow because I wanted to hear more from this person. And immediately this person reached out to me in the DMs in Instagram and was like, hey, I see you have a podcast. And we started a conversation, and we've actually been chatting back and forth this week. And I took something that Natalie had said, ask someone else how you can help them, how you can show up and serve. So I found out that this person actually wants to start her own podcast. And I said, is there anything I can help you with? Do you have any questions? In our DMs in Instagram. And it's become just this really amazing connection, very organically. And before that, this person did not know about the Connected Yoga Teacher podcast or the group, and has since become a listener and has reached out and said, I really enjoyed this episode. And so this is a tiny example of how connecting and networking can build your business over time. So if you didn't already have a list of action steps from listening to this episode with Natalie, that's one thing that you can do. Think of how other people reach out to you and connect with you, and see if there's some piece of that you would like to take into your own business and try it out and see how it works. I am super curious to hear from you, and I would love it if you would share in the comments of the show notes or send me an email and tell me how you are connecting or networking or how you plan to do this. So to look for the comments, just go to theconnectedyogateacher.com/177. Okay, Connected Yoga Teachers, it's time for me to sign off. But before I do that, I want to say a huge thank you to our team, Suzanne, Crunch, Nick, and Sinead. You have made today's podcast episode possible, and also so many other things to support our Connected Yoga Teachers. Now I am going to sign off. We had an amazing rain today, and I'm excited to get out into my vegetable garden. If you're not already following me on Instagram, search for The Connected Yoga Teacher on Instagram. The handle's just at The Connected Yoga Teacher, and I like to show my garden off in the summer and be out there and enjoy it as much as possible. It's one of the ways that I really stay connected. I feel like it's part of my summer yoga practice, actually. So I would like to know, how are you staying connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?